thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It's fantastic.
No problem at all.
Good for students to hear from a real business how everything's affected them and what's going on.
Sure.
So do you want to start off just by introducing yourself in your business, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tianna. I am a photographer and my business is called Tianna J Williams Photography. I predominantly photograph pregnant women, newborn babies, and basically sort of capturing motherhood.
Yeah.
I was inspired by my midwifery career, which I left after having my first daughter. I went back to work after about almost a year of maternity leave, and I just struggled with the flexibility. I hadn't quite started a business at that point, but I'd already sort of gotten into photography.
Yeah.
I thought, well, may as well see where I can go with this, and it's kind of grown from there.
Excellent.
I've been self-employed for 3 years now.
Oh, well done. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So when coronavirus was starting to be talked about more, at what point did you start thinking I might need to make some adjustments to work? Was it way before lockdown, or was it a bit of a shock at that point?
It was kind of, I would say around February, there was a lot of talks in the photography community about what we're actually going to do if everything has to stop, because obviously that means no work for us. And because we work for ourselves, we weren't sure kind of where we stood with how we're going to sort of afford to live. My partner's a nurse, so we have another income. So I guess we were quite lucky to have that as a fallback. But yeah, it was kind of really scary.
Family, you're used to 2 incomes, so to kind of say, oh, it's okay, there was still one, you're still reducing your household income and budgets affected, etc.
Definitely. And then, you know, like I do weddings. I tend to second shoot, so I work with other photographers, but I also do weddings myself. Not very often. You know, and when they were sort of saying, we think our wedding's going to be cancelled, and you think, oh my gosh, this is like a lot of money I'm going to lose. And, you know, I hadn't had to cancel anyone, but they've rescheduled to next year. So that obviously a lot of like income that was sort of keeping me afloat. Sorry, it's a fly, it's really bugging me. Yeah, a lot of our income comes from weddings. So having those sort of shifted to a year later, when you're sort of thinking I was hoping to sort of be paid at this kind of point, was a really scary thought. And then a lot of my maternity and newborn clients, obviously their babies are only young once, and you're only pregnant with that baby for 10 months thereabouts. So for them it was kind of, after looking forward to having that session, to being told that actually it's not going to happen. Again, I would say I was fortunate enough that I could move a lot of my clients to different sessions, so doing more older babies, but then not having them be able to have their pregnancy memories. It was obviously, losing the income was hard, but not being able to do that was...
Did you find you almost had to go into a bit of a counselling role for your clients, sort of change your role somewhat?
Definitely. Speaking to a lot of them that were really upset about not being able to have the session that they planned for months. It's actually quite heartbreaking, you know, and trying to say, oh, well, you know, I'm sure we can do something when it's probably not going to happen, was really hard for them. Really, really tough. And a lot of my clients, they have quite a bit of a story along with their pregnancies, you know. They may have had a difficult pregnancy, or they may have had a pregnancy loss, so coming to have those photos really meant something to them. So
it felt like a double blow for them.
Yeah, definitely. So, and for me, obviously being a midwife, it really pulled on my heartstrings. I felt really guilty, even though there isn't anything that I could have done.
Yeah, no, of course. So was the point that you started moving bookings basically when lockdown occurred? It was that point that was officially it can't happen, therefore?
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of them had kind of, like I said, given the heads up sort of late February, early March, that they were probably going to have to move things along. But at that point, I think it was the 24th of March or something.
Something like that,
Emailing everyone and saying, okay, I have to close, which means that I can't do your sessions, and obviously trying to offer alternatives. And this was all sort of happening so quickly. It was devastating, really.
So have you been able to offer anything during lockdown, or were you having to literally close?
I've literally closed. Apart from sort of moving sessions to alternatives, so
Yeah.
photographing the babies when they're a couple of months older, obviously
Yeah,
saying at that point that depends on when we can
of
reopen. But
course.
yeah, that's about it. I know a couple of my friends offered doorstep portraits as sort of things were moving on, but because the nurseries are closed, I was struggling to find the time to be able to offer
Yeah,
that to people,
yeah,
just
of
so that
course.
they could have
Yeah.
those memories. But I actually took it as a time to sit back and reflect and look at my business and look at what I didn't want to do anymore.
Okay. So has it made you really make some big changes, do you think, now? Or?
I
Okay.
think I was trying to photograph too many genres,
Okay.
and I struggled to. I would say I wanted to market myself in a way that I get the right kind of clients,
Mm-hmm.
um, but trying to do everything made that difficult. So I spent some time just sort of sitting down and looking at what I was doing. And of course, I always knew that I wanted to do maternity and newborn photography. But I was offering, like first birthday milestone sessions and family sessions and so many different things, commercial bookings, headshots and business stuff. It was just a bit all over the place.
Yeah. So what have you decided to narrow down to now then?
So I'm absolutely sticking with motherhood portraits, so
Mhm.
maternity, newborn, and sort of around the 6 month mark. Just because babies are a little bit more active then, summer sitting, but you get the smiles and the interaction, and I wanted to capture sort of that kind of moment in motherhood. So I've
Oh,
stuck with.
fantastic. Does that mean you're not even going to do weddings then, or?
I it depends. I'm
Yeah.
not actively sort of looking for wedding clients.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple of really good friends that are photographers also, and if they ever need someone to second shoot for them, then I'd absolutely be happy to do that. But if I didn't book any more weddings, I'm not too fussed.
Yeah.
Um, that might change, but at the moment, I'm quite happy to not worry about them.
So in a way, do you think that COVID has been a blessing in disguise to enable you to actually take this time?
Definitely. I know I struggled with finding the time to just take a step back really and look at things and decide where I wanted to go. So it sort of forced that. I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I would say so.
Excellent. So what are your plans to move out of lockdown, do you think? What? Okay.
So I reopened on the 15th of June
Okay.
as of the government guidance. We sort of,
Yeah.
a lot of us got together in some of our community groups on Facebook and we're saying, how can we, because we were really unsure about, some of us are not really falling into the retail category. Some have home studios. Some rent their studio spaces off. Other business owners that have various different
Yeah.
businesses like myself. So we weren't sure kind of what category we sat in. So we were kind of pressuring the government to sort of stick photography studios in there somewhere so that we had a point to go from. But yeah, I reopened. I followed COVID guidance that's been put out by a lot of the local councils. So that includes things like, making sure, well, we sort of decided that we're only going to do things like one session a day so we can leave time to clean and disinfect, using face masks, installing more sort of facilities for hand hygiene, and just trying to kind of minimize contact as much as possible, to work in a safer way.
And how have you found your clients have been? Are they happy to come back or are they reticent?
They've been quite happy to come back. They've been pretty eager, if I'm honest.
Oh,
They
good.
want their memories captured. So I think we're all kind of really happy about that. A lot of us were thinking, oh gosh, nobody's going to be interested in photography anymore. But I think because of the lockdown and not being able to see our families and things, there's kind of been a whole new importance put on photographs. So we sort of took that with both hands.
Excellent, excellent. So I guess your plans moving forward, are you just waiting on government guidelines, or are you kind of thinking ahead and trying to make plans, you know, looking at what other countries have done, etc., to try and be ahead of the game and be ready to take up opportunities?
It's definitely a mix of both, I would say, because I find some elements of the advice is a little bit contradictory. And, you know, while they're saying things like, so ever many people can meet in a bubble, but you can only do it outside, and we're kind of trying to find a happy medium that still is safe.
Yeah.
So, for example, I would only be photographing. I only do like people in the same household anyway now.
Yeah.
But if I was doing more sort of family portraits, I wouldn't be able to offer, for example, grandparents to come and join in, which is a shame. But then it's about trying to keep them safe as well. So it's really difficult, I think. Some are finding that really hard.
So if there was a second lockdown, is there anything you would do differently with the experience you've had to prepare for that, or?
Really hard to say, I guess. But at least I know that I can be a little bit more flexible with the sessions that I offer. Maternity would be a little difficult because it just depends on at what point, if we had a second lockdown and where they are in their pregnancy. I tend to photograph women at about 28 weeks upwards to around about 34, 36 weeks. So if sort of lockdown happened and their session was the following week, I know that I'm not going to be able to do their session, but I would offer them to either return for a motherhood session, maybe later on in the year. Perhaps not a newborn session because they'll have their baby soon, and then I may not be able to do that, but at least I know that gives me 6 months ahead. So I would probably try to market those more so that, you know, in 6 months' time or something, then I know that I've got work to come back to, and I know that they'll still have some memories that are still important.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you really so much for talking to us today. I think, like I said, getting that real life experience is really, really valid. So I really appreciate taking the time out. And sorry about the interruption.
Oh no, don't worry. Honestly, if I had my children done, it would be exactly the same.
Very well. Thank you, and I'll catch up with you on the group, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you. Bye.